You know, every single time you type a website into your browser, you're using the internet's address book. It's this massive, fundamental system that lets us find pretty much anything online. But here's a question. Have you ever stopped to think about who actually writes that address book? Who's really in control? Because, well, the answer is changing in some really fascinating and honestly kind of radical ways.
So let's just cut right to it with a simple question. Who really owns a .com address? I mean, you probably think you do, right? You paid for it. But the truth? Well, it gets right to the very heart of how the entire internet is structured and governed.
To answer that, we've got to first look at the traditional system, the one that powers pretty much every website we visit every day. It's time to pull back the curtain and meet the internet's hidden gatekeeper.
Okay, so this is the domain name system, or DNS. The absolute simplest way to understand it is to think of it like a massive global phone book. When you type in a simple name you can remember, like example.com, the DNS does all the heavy lifting in the background to look up the real numerical IP address that computers actually use to connect. I mean, without it, we'd all have to memorize long strings of numbers just to check our email. No, thank you. So who runs this global phone book? Well, it's a single nonprofit organization called ICANN. Yep, one organization. They govern this whole hierarchical system, and they coordinate all the domain names and IP addresses to make sure there are no duplicates. They are the central authority, the gatekeeper sitting right at the top of the pyramid.
But as you can imagine, having just one central gatekeeper creates some pretty serious vulnerabilities. The system can be targeted by cyber attacks like DDoS, where servers just get flooded with traffic to knock websites offline. But even more importantly, because it's centralized, a domain name can be censored or even completely seized by authorities if they put enough pressure on the registrars. This single point of failure, this lack of real control, is exactly what's pushing people to look for a better way.
And that search for a better way has led to a really radical new idea. One that's built on a technology I'm pretty sure you've heard of. We're talking about the blockchain alternative. So blockchain-based DNS, or BDNS, completely flips the script. Instead of one central phone book managed by one organization, it uses a decentralized and unchangeable ledger, a blockchain, to store and manage domain names. What does this mean? It means there's no single gatekeeper. The network itself is in charge. And this brings us to the most fundamental difference. With the traditional .com, you're essentially just renting it. You pay a renewal fee every year, and if you stop paying, poof, it's gone. But with a decentralized domain like .eth, you truly own it. It's a digital asset you buy once, stored on the blockchain, kind of like an NFT. There's no committee in charge, it's all handled by code, which makes these domains incredibly resistant to censorship. And this isn't just a theory, by the way. Major projects are already out there building this new vision, so let's meet some of these new domains.
All right, there are a few key players you should know. Namecoin was one of the first ones out of the gate, a true pioneer. The Ethereum Name Service, or ENS, is probably the most well-known. They're the ones behind all those .f domains you see in the Web3 world. Then there's Handshake, which has this really ambitious goal to replace the entire security certificate system. And you've got Unstoppable Domains offering extensions like .crypto and .nft for a one-time fee. Each one has a unique approach, and yeah, each one faces its own set of challenges. But one of the most powerful uses here actually goes way beyond just websites. These decentralized domains can also work as simple, human-readable crypto wallet addresses. So instead of copying and pasting that crazy long, complicated string of letters and numbers, you can just tell someone to send funds to mywallet.eth. It is a total game changer for usability.
So true ownership, censorship resistance, easier crypto payments, I mean, it all sounds amazing. So why isn't the entire internet running on this already? Well, that brings us to the reality check. It's a big idea, but it comes with some equally big hurdles.
Yeah, let's just ask that question directly. Why isn't everyone using this yet? The promise of decentralization is massive, for sure, but the practical roadblocks to get there are just as significant.
And this quote from a user really just hits the nail on the head. If your site doesn't show up in a Google search, and people need to install special software just to visit it, well, that's a massive barrier for most people. That user friction is the #1 problem right now. So let's break these roadblocks down. First, you've got huge technical hurdles. The browsers we all use, Chrome, Safari, they just don't support these domains natively. Search engines like Google, they don't really know how to find them. Then you have all the practical issues. It's a legal gray area for disputes, transaction fees can be ridiculously expensive sometimes, and the whole experience just isn't as simple as typing in a .com. So, given these powerful advantages on one side, and these pretty significant hurdles on the other, where are we all headed? What does the future of your internet address actually look like? This forecast, which is just for one system, Handshake, really shows how slow this adoption is expected to be. I mean, even if we look all the way out to 2030, the chance of browser support is still only estimated at around 20 to 30%. This tells us we're not looking at some sudden revolution. This is going to be a slow, challenging, uphill climb.
This means we're probably not heading for some all-or-nothing future. Instead, the most likely outcome is a hybrid system. The traditional .coms and .orgs will continue to be the standard for most people, while this new world of decentralized domains will grow up right alongside it, serving users who prioritize that true ownership and censorship resistance above everything else.
And that leaves us with a final, really interesting question. Is the future of the internet going to have one address book, or is it going to have two? Will these two systems, the old guard and the new challenger, just operate in parallel forever? Or will one of them eventually become the new standard for everyone? The answer to that, well, that's going to define who truly controls our digital world.